Hey girl, you got a minute? Welcome to Girl Go In, the podcast, where faith, community, celebration collide. Each episode is geared to helping the next girl know that she too can overcome anything and that you can triumph after trauma. Let's dive right into this week's episode. Hey girl, you got a minute? Last week, we talked about acknowledging when hiding was no longer serving you. This week's episode is simply getting back in the flow of God. And last week I shared how I was hiding. But I can tell you the moment like I got back into position when I knew that it was time and all of that good stuff. But I didn't give you the strategies. And I am big on strategies. Long time ago, I hosted a month-long Monday call. I can't remember all of the logistics of it, but it was strategies to win. Every Monday, I had a lady come on and just share their strategies and how they got into their winning position or how did they overcome some things. And it was so successful that I hosted a brunch, Strategies to Win. And that quote or that mantra never left me. I believe that it is so important to be strategic, so that you can kind of keep yourself balanced, so that you can keep yourself afloat, so that you can know what to do next. Strategies are always important. And trust me, God is always downloading strategies. God is when you seek Him, okay? I think that my relationship with God has grown. It's not perfect, but it's a consistent thing we have. We got history. We got a relationship. So I know, when my season is up with something. K Curl Studio served me for so long that during the pandemic, around that time I was kind of transitioning anyway. So when the pandemic happened, I knew that I had to, close that chapter. Let that go because God was pushing me to more than just being in a basement telling my story or helping another woman. Not that it was beneath me or it was too good for me. It was because my time was up and God wanted to push me somewhere else. God wanted me to get back hosting those events, to build in that sisterhood, to get back in the flow of Him. I think that so many times we are so comfortable with being uncomfortable that we rather be in the known in our comfort so we don't have to push ourselves. Let me just tell you, doing this podcast, the people around me in my circle, they knew that this right here, I really wanted to jump back into the trauma state of being the Jonah. I really wanted to hide again. I really wanted to tell y'all, oh, it's not coming. It's not coming. And you don't know how long I had that flyer or had my brother, make it and just, I want to change that date so many times. But literally, my flesh died and my spirit told me, do it. And my grams, I'm probably going to quote her so much. I love her. She's my god grandmother. And she has instilled so many nuggets of wisdom in me that it pushes me. Like I can still, remember the things she says, or I can call her and she reminds me. And another thing she's always taught me that when you are nervous, like nervous, okay, that is God letting you know that it is Him that is pushing you and calling you to do this, right? So here I am. It's episode 2. And I'm letting you know that you too can get back in the flow of things. You too can get back in the flow of God. Now, what does that look like? That looks like reading your word. You thought I was going to say something cute. That looks like reading your word. It looks like being strategic about your timing, about your time with God, about your space. Make it an altar in your room. I've had a prayer closet, took all my clothes out, put them downstairs. They back up now because I have a different prayer space. But it looks like being strategic. If you're going to do this thing, if you're going to do what God told you to do, if you're going to do what you're purposed to do, you're going to have to die to yourself daily. You're going to have to get into the flow with God. You're going to have to build time, build a space, be strategic in the area. Now, don't get me wrong. I love a good time with God in the shower, in the tub, in the car, in my office. I love good moments like that. But nothing is more important to me than when I come home or at night when the house is quiet and still. I literally sit on the floor with my nice little rug. I have a prayer mat too, but my nice little rug and my nice little area. There's soft worship music playing. And if I don't know what to read, I'll kind of go to the back of the book. Like I have several Bibles, okay? But my all-time favorite right now is the Tony Evans Study Bible. I just love that family, all of their wisdom. Oh my God. But that Bible literally just makes me feel like something. I don't know what it is, okay? Like an old woman, like a true saint, okay? It makes me really, really feel like I got some wisdom when I read that Bible. But there's an amazing women's devotional Bible. It's an NIV Bible. I can't remember the name of it, but I'm going to share it on Instagram for you guys really soon. And I've shared it before, as a matter of fact, but you'll see it so you can kind of reference it. But that Bible kind of has like devotionals, mini devotionals, right? Mini devotionals that kind of give me, a little story, a backstory. I think that we define or we make Christianity, we make the relationship with Christ so hard. We make it so hard. When God is like, all I want you to do is come seek me. I have all the resources, all the answers, all the strategies. I just need you to come see me. Come talk to me. God is like that, grandparents, they say when they go into the nursing home, people don't really come see them and visit them. I think that's how we make God. Like, maybe today, maybe tomorrow, they'll be there. Someone is there with them. They're good. And it's God, right? So he doesn't really need me, or he doesn't even need me to be there because someone else is going to come see him. Someone else is going to come see about him. But God is like that grandparent. I just want to see you. I've seen all of them, but I haven't seen you. So when we know to get back in the flow with God, when we take time and make it a thing, put it in your notes. In your calendar, remind yourself and say, this is my time with God. Don't bother me. Like how I am with therapy on Wednesdays from 12 to 1, don't bother me. Don't have a fire. Don't fall. Don't have an accident. I'm praying my son doesn't need me because 12 to 1 on Wednesdays, that's my time with my therapist. That's my time that I tell on everybody, okay? That's how I always say, I'm telling my therapist on you. Don't even worry. I'm telling on all y'all Wednesday. And it's a joke, but it's, that's my time. And at night, when the house is quiet, because I'm not that early riser person, I take care of my grandmother. So it's myself, my son, and my grandmother. And that's her time early in the morning. So that doesn't work for me. My time is the nighttime, which is why I be up half the night and I be tired in the morning. But I'm working better with that schedule. But when my son is asleep, when my grandmother is asleep, and I know they're both taken care of, they don't have a need for me, I literally get my worship music going and I pull out my Bible and I'm just seeking God. That is my time with him. And I love it too because it kind of makes me sleep better. It does. It makes me sleep better. It makes me feel better because I'm just in the flow and I'm just spending time with my Father. And I'm telling my Father on everybody. And I'm telling my Father how I feel. I'm telling him how much I love him. And he's pouring his love back into me, his word. Sometimes you ever read the Bible and you be like, oh, dang. Like, I needed that. Like, this verse right here. And that is how I feel. So that is how I had to build myself back up again. That is how I got back in the flow with God. And getting back in the flow with God became easier and easier and easier. The more I died to myself, the more that I surrendered my will for his will, the more that I realized that I need you, man. Like, yo, I'm getting my butt beat out here. Life is, adulting, 0 stars, would not recommend. It is not for the weak being an adult. I'm for real. If I can find that teacher that told me in like second, third, maybe it was like fourth grade, that you rushing for something that ain't even what you think it is, I would buy her a nice steak dinner from Ruth Chris or something. Because I really want to let her know that you were so right. You were so right. That, man, I can literally remember being in Marcus Garvey, her by the steps, and me leaving, I think the art room or something. And I must have been trying to be grown with my mouth because I've had it all my life. I can remember her, pulling me to the side and saying, her name was Miss Coleman. I'm very, very close to a lot of my former educators, literally in my life. One of my greatest educators, the late Miss Miller Van Allen, was an amazing mentor to me from grammar school up until the day she died. She actually died on my birthday a few years ago, and the pain still kind of, it's lingering. It hurts because she was an amazing mentor. She was there with me every step of the way. I held my first conference. She was one of my speakers and teachers for one of my sessions, and she's just been there through marriage, through divorce, through the separation, through having my son. She was just there. And her family, I still kind of communicate with them. But she was also one of the ones that let me know that, you got a gift, you have a purpose, you have a calling, but you got to get out of yourself. You are so into yourself that sometimes you can't see, what really you can be because of your attitude and your personality. So I say that to say, you got to get out of yourself. You got to stop trying to figure things out for God. You got to get in the flow of God. And the flow of God is ever moving, ever changing. God is switching things up. And if you are one of those type of people who are not good at routines, ooh, baby, you better die to that. Because God literally is one of the ones who specializes in change and moving, and God is flowing. And I'm telling you, I thought for a fact I was going to be in my office space longer than I was. And it's funny because I said, well, I'm going to give it 6 months. And then because it was a co-working space, my cousin and I shared, but he was never there. So it worked out, right? But I knew that my ministry was growing. My brand was growing. I was evolving and things were changing. And I knew that, I was going to have my very own. I mean, I still have how I want the office to look. So literally I got in my office one day and I was doing some work, and then God literally told me, right? He told me, close this chapter, leave now. And I remember when I was working, I'm a former educator, and I remember when I was at CPS at a school, and I had a great position. Things were great. I was making great money, and literally, I kept telling God, I want to go into full-time ministry. Now, again, I was young, in my head, in my mind, thinking that full-time ministry, God is going to call me next week to just go preach and teach to other people. I was only 23, 24, so give me grace. I just thought that immediately God was like, you said yes, come on, let's go. I'm about to put you on these platforms, and you're going to change the world. No, that ain't what happened. God literally took me through some things, and I see now on the other side of that trauma that he needed those things to build me, to build Girl Go In, to build the Raven K brand, to help other women. I ain't had nothing, and I mean had nothing to inspire you, to teach you, to show you at 23, 24 years old. I hadn't even gone through really anything. I mean, the typical teenage stuff and things like that, but I ain't had no real message. I ain't had nothing to come out with. Now, ooh, child, we can talk about a lot. But I say that to say, I just kept going. I stayed with the flow. I didn't back out. At times when I wanted to quit, I remember my relationship that became a engagement, then became a marriage, then became a divorce. I remember when I wanted to walk away from that and literally heard the voice of God say, you don't get to walk away from an assignment I gave you. I was literally in the bathroom contemplating, leaving. Us women, I'm leaving, I'm done, I'm tired of this. And hearing that then, I didn't really understand, but I knew that I had to go through this. Now that I know that when we got married, things were going to go crazy, that I was going to go through all of this drama and all of this. I didn't. Were there red flags and signs? They probably were. I was probably so in love that I just didn't see them. And I know I'm not the only one. But I just didn't see them, or I didn't want to see them. I think that as a woman, we think that we can change a man, or we think that our love is so much that we can make this person overcome their own trauma and their own issues that have nothing to do with us. And for that, I went through all of this stuff, but I'm here now letting you know that you can get back in the flow of God. So how amazing is it for me to share my message and to share my mess that turned into this message with my head held high, no guilt and shame, no fear of the gossip. I could care less. You are doing nothing but showing me that God is fighting for me harder, that God is pushing me, and that he's for me. There was a time that you could intimidate me with your words, that you could intimidate me with the things you said about me. I'm free from that. I am more concerned about what God says about me, how the women that are connected to me, how they're thriving, how their life is growing, how they're evolving, how they're celebrating themselves, how they're taking the time for therapy, how they're taking time for self-care, how they're taking time to spend with God. If I don't show you what an ugly mess I've been, and now how God has made me into this beautiful thing, and how he's made this Girl Go Win message a beautiful known thing. I mean, when we did that Confessions of a Winner series in April, there were people from Switzerland, Africa, and I can't remember where else, that let me know that my Confessions of a Winner series was blessing them. That let me know that they needed everything that I had to say. The "hey girl, you got a minute" turned into this. So to all my sisters, my girls that originated with me, that started with me from the beginning to here we are now, this win is for us. This is not about me. God gets all the glory. This win is for us. And I think that God took me the route he took me purposely to humble me, to show me that if I leave that flow, that I am going to be even more messed up, that I am going to feel uncertain. I am going to surely feel stuck. I am going to be stranded. I am lost without God. I don't know about the God you serve. I don't know about the relationship you have with my God, but my God is desperate for me. My God he's jealous for me. And I had to get to that place where I realized that all things work together for his goodness, for his glory, for a purpose, for my story, for him to get all of the glory, that my sister next to me knows that, girl, you got this. Girl, you're gonna win. Get back in the flow, okay? When you're in the flow of God, you can thrive. You can feel at ease. You ever feel like, when you are on that plane and when you first get, in the air, there's a little turbulence and it's a little bit rocky. It's a little bit shaky. But when we are cruising and coasting in the air at a certain altitude in our direction, that there's just a peaceful flow, and that that, man, that flow is just so peaceful. It's calming. I ain't worrying if this plane is going, fell out the sky or not, because I just feel at ease and at peace. And then when we're descending on down, it's a little rocky. That's life. That's life. And if you jump into Christianity, if you jump into this relationship and religion and things with God, and you think that there's going to always be this ease and this peace and this flow, no. But I need you to know and to remember what that peace and that flow felt like. So when things get rocky and when things get shaky, it lets you know that you're going to get to your expected end safely. It lets you know that, man, I was at ease and at peace in this season, and now this season feels as though it's rocky, it's shaky. But I know that when I get down there to my destination and we land, I know that I'm going to be landed to an expected end. So I'm encouraging you today to get back in that flow with God. Get back in your flow with yourself. I am not the most organized person. Pray for me. I'm working on that. If you have a nice organizer, shoot it to me. Let me know, because I want to get better with that. I have not worked for anybody in 8 years. I left CPS 8 years ago, this past April, and I don't have a flow yet. The only flow that I have with my life, honestly, is taking my son to school. Sometimes I nap when I get him home, when I get back home. Sometimes I do work or I wait. But I am actually challenging myself to get in a flow with my own self. Like I said, I'm going to take some classes. I'm going to go to the gym in the morning. I'm going to do all these great things other than just, chilling or whatever or working. I want to get a strategic flow in my life overall, not just in my walk with Christ, but in my daily activities. I want to have a better flow. So I am challenging you, because clearly it's just going to be a challenge every week, okay? But I'm holding you accountable. I want you to hold me accountable. I'm challenging you to get back in the flow. Get back in the flow with God. Get back in the flow with God. And I'm telling you again, get back in the flow with God. You need this flow. You need the flow that only God can provide, that only the relationship can give you. That security you have with God, and the more and more you read your word, the more and more you are practicing what you're reading, the more and more you are feeding your spirit, man, the more and more you are feeding your soul, the more and more God is revealing things to you, the more and more God is giving you strategy. God is showing you the way to go. The more God's revealing things to you so clearly that you are okay with walking away from certain situations. You're okay with certain things not working out the way you thought it was going to work out. That relationship, that flow provides so much security that it's unexplainable. So again, I'm challenging you to get back in the flow with God. You got this, girl. See you next week.